Welcome back, everyone, to the podcast. As you know, we are continuing our conversation around past, present, and future teachers in the aim to see how PDHPE has changed over time. Today, we have our final guest, Natalie Borbley, who is a pre-service teacher studying a Masters of Teaching at WSU. Thanks so much for joining us today, Natalie.
Thanks for having me, Pia.
We are curious to hear what you have been taught around the current New South Wales PDHPE curriculum. Would you be able to share your understanding of it?
Sure. Firstly, I want to say that I feel it is such a valuable learning area. The most important aspect of it is that it focuses on developing the whole child. The syllabus focuses on helping students live safe, active, and healthy lives now, but also beyond school, which is why I feel it is just such a valuable learning area, Nessa. I also learned that PDHP is not just theoretical. Students need opportunities to apply learning in authentic ways that are meaningful to them. Wang and Chen explain that understanding and motivation together drive behaviour, which really highlighted the importance of connecting learning to real life. The rationale behind the current PDHP curriculum is quite comprehensive. Firstly, we want students to develop knowledge and skills that support their own well-being and the well-being of others. We want them to build confidence and lifelong engagement in physical activity, as well as to develop social, emotional, and cognitive skills. They will do this through developing relationships, managing emotions, and making safe decisions offline and online. It really is a very comprehensive curriculum, which is another reason it's so important.
It sounds much more broader than I think people would think.
Definitely, Pia. It also connects strongly with other learning areas like English and maths, as PDH provides students opportunities to communicate strategies, count scores, measure movement, and solve problems. So, yeah, it really is much more than just playing sport and eating well, which was my belief of the learning area before beginning this unit.
Is there a specific way that you are taught to teach PE?
Yes, the syllabus recommends we use the game sense approach where students learn through playing games rather than isolated skill drills, Nessa. Pill and Williams explain that this challenges traditional approaches where students are expected to master skills before they play. Instead, students develop skills and decision making through modified games. The approach is based on learning in context, so students learn what to do and why while actually playing the game. Smith et al. Explains that game-based approaches develop physical skills, belonging, community, and positive identity.
So, students play games. What is the teacher's role in that?
The teacher's role is to guide learning through purposeful questioning during gameplay rather than constantly directing students. So they are asking guided questions to prompt students to think about what they are actually doing.
Gameplay. That sounds very different from traditional PE lessons.
Definitely. It's much more student-centred. Yan et al. Also found that game-based sports programs improve physical and mental well-being, motivation and confidence in sport, which again adds to why it is such a valuable learning area.
Natalie, I'm wondering if you have a mix of practical and theory classes.
Yeah, we have had 6 theory classes and 3 practicals.
Could you share what you've learned in these?
Sure, I'll talk about the first 2 theory lessons first, as they provided me with a really solid understanding of the unit. In the first tutorial, we shared and reflected on our past experiences with PDHP, and we discussed how student experiences shape how they feel about the subject. Some students enjoyed PE while others disliked it because they either lacked confidence or skills. Smee et al. Explains that the roll out the ball approach focuses on competition and skill mastery, but this can exclude students who are not sporty or competitive. We also learned that the current syllabus uses a strength-based approach, which and focuses on participation and inclusion. One thing I found really interesting was that our role is not to develop athletes, but to develop fundamental movement skills and positive experiences for all students. Our tutor highlighted that nowhere in the syllabus does it state that teachers are sports coaches developing athletes. New South Wales Department of Education. Hutchmatcher et al. Explains that supportive PE lessons build motivation for physical activity in and out of school, and this really reinforced the importance of inclusive teaching.
I'm wondering what part the syllabus plays in your learning.
It plays a huge part. Everything we teach needs to link to the syllabus. In this tutorial, we practice identifying how games linked to syllabus strands and outcomes and content descriptors. For example, I identified that a Year 1 invasion game would link to the movement, skill, and physical activity strand, and the outcome PH1 MSP01, where students demonstrate fundamental movement skills and fair play in physical activities, NESA. We also always learn inclusive teaching strategies. Two that I learned and will implement are firstly, ensuring I use a strength-based approach, and secondly, that I focus on participation rather than performance. This tutorial also gave me a new perspective on PDHP because I realised it develops confidence, teamwork, and decision making, not just physical skills.
And the second one, what did you focus on?
The second tutorial focused on how to use the PDHPE syllabus effectively when planning and teaching learning. One of the biggest things I learned was that PDHP outcomes are really broad and need to be supported by content points to guide our teaching. We also discussed that teachers often spend way too much time talking instead of allowing students to move. Smee et al. Explains that students learn through interaction and participation, showing that active lessons are most effective. Another important discussion focused on stage-appropriate teaching. We talked about how teachers cannot just teach whatever they want to teach. For example, if I was teaching in Year 1, I could not teach about harmful substances because that content is not age or stage appropriate. That concept is covered in Stage 3 under the Respectful Relationships and Safety strand. Outcome PHE RRS 02 explains and applies skills and strategies to interact safely in offline and online contexts. An inclusive teaching strategy I learned is that using questioning during activities supports learning. Deanne Thompson and Penny explain that discussions between teachers and students extend learning. This tutorial also reinforced that all teaching must begin with the syllabus, and I will definitely use the syllabus as a starting point when planning all of my lessons.
Could you share a couple of your practical tutorials? What did they look like?
Sure. The first one was dance. It focused on us working in small groups. We had to learn, modify, and then teach a dance to the rest of the class. One of the big things I remember, one of the big things I learned was that people learn movement in different ways. So in our group, some of the people linked movement to the beat, while others relied on lyrics or on watching demonstrations. Yan et al. Explains that varied teaching approaches improve engagement and learning outcomes. The tutorial also highlighted how important group work is. An outcome that linked strongly to the task we were doing was PH1 SMI01, where students demonstrate self-management and interpersonal skills in different contexts. This sits in the self-management and interpersonal strand of the syllabus. An important inclusive strategy I learned is that I need to use multiple teaching methods to support students' learning movement skills. As Fletcher and Nick Cronin explain, students engage with movement differently. This tutorial also made me realise how important movement time is in PDHPE. I am now very hyper-focused on how much time can be spent talking instead of moving during lessons.
Okay, so dance. What was the next prac about?
The second prac tutorial was focused on cultural games. One of the biggest things I learned was how important explicit instructions are during games. Again, we spent the first half of the game in small groups and then had to teach it in the second half. The first group spent way too long explaining the game. I found it really hard to maintain focus and stay engaged. Then all of a sudden, two boys suddenly grabbed the ball and started playing. Everyone joined in. However, I had no idea what was happening and I was worried about getting hurt, so I stepped out to observe more before feeling comfortable to join in. I had never participated in team sports, and Jefferson Buckman explains that students who do not master movement skills may struggle with harder skills and enjoy physical activity less. Smee et al. Also explains that students with stronger sporting skills often display more confidence and engagement in PE, which can shape how other students participate, which definitely happened with me. I also learned how effective questioning during game time can be. Our tutor modelled how to incorporate questioning by pausing games and asking reflective questions, such as, what strategy were you using? Or how were you using the space? The game we taught was an Aboriginal game that could have linked to the stage 3 movement skill and physical activity strand. Outcome PH3 MSP01, where students refine movement skills, strategies, and collaboration in physical activities. The focus of this tutorial was including cultural games in PDHP, which is an inclusive teaching strategy I will definitely use. Pitt et al. Explains that Aboriginal culture is often missing in PE and should be included more meaningfully. This tutorial also highlighted the importance of checking students' understanding throughout the games. Smith, Ovens and Philpott explain that game-based learning focuses on the problem solving that naturally occurs during games. I really enjoyed this tutorial as I learned so much.
Before we finish up, what would you say are your biggest takeaways from your learning so far?
I would say my biggest takeaways are that PDHPE is very broad and a very valuable learning area. And the game sense and strength-based approaches are really important. I've also learned that my role is to develop movement skills and positive experiences for all students and to prioritise movement, authentic learning and meaningful assessment. The practical tutorials taught me that students learn differently and benefit from questioning, autonomy, and supportive group work. Finally, I learned how to incorporate cultural games and perspectives into PDHPE.
Thank you so much for sharing your learning and experiences with us today. It's been really insightful and I'm sure has opened the eyes to the value and scope of learning that pre-service teachers are gaining. I wish you well with your students and maybe you can come back and share your thinking again with us in the future.
Thanks so much for having me, Pia. It's been a pleasure.